Communications Manager at the Canadian Cattlemen's Association. We are proud to bring you today's presentation to showcase this year's nominees for the Environmental Stewardship Award. Thank you for taking time to join us today. Following today's presentation of the 4 nominees, we will open the floor up to media questions, but we'll limit the duration of this entire presentation to 30 minutes. Questions can be asked using the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Please provide your name and media outlet with your question. I will now pass the mic over to Dwayne Thompson, Chair of CCA's Environment Committee, who will set the stage for this year's TESA.
Thank you, Michelle, and hello, everyone. As stated, my name is Dwayne Thompson, and I'm Chair of the Environment Committee for the Canadian Cattlemen's Association. Our family runs a cow-calf, crop, and mixed operation near northeast of Regina, near Kelleher, Saskatchewan. Usually we present the Environmental Stewardship Award, or TESA for short, annually during the banquet at the Canadian Beef Industry Conference. But these are challenging times and we need to approach things differently. We are pleased that you are able to join us today to learn more about the nominees vying for the CCA's 2020 National TESA, which will be presented in an online event in 2 weeks. As caretakers of a vast portion of the Canadian landscape, the producers who work on Canada's 60,000 beef farms, ranches, and feedlots play an important role in protecting and enhancing the environment. CCA launched the Environmental Stewardship Award in 1996, and for the past 26 years, this award has recognized beef farmers and ranchers who investigate innovative ways to include conservation and environmental stewardship as part of their business. At the local level, producers receive a provincial recognition from their peers for their outstanding innovations and contributions. These recipients can move forward as nominees for the national recognition from the CCA. Today, we are pleased to introduce you to the 4 provincial recipients for their exceptional contributions to the environmental and stewardship of their farms. As well, we would like to recognize their efforts to share key learning and innovations with neighbors in their communities. Before we get started on showing our nominees, I would like to take a moment to thank our platinum sponsor for the TESA, Myers Norris Penny. MNP is a longtime partner of the CCA, and we greatly appreciate their support in honoring these outstanding beef producers. MNP makes this special award event possible, and they deserve a very big thank you. Now, each nominee exemplifies significant innovation and attention to a wide range of environmental stewardship aspects in their beef operation. Such innovations extend beneficially to areas far beyond their own land base. Indeed, these producers provide critical environmental benefits to all of Canada. At this time, I'll pass it over to Amy Peck, Manager of CCA's Public and Stakeholder Engagement Team, who will introduce you to the nominees. Amy?
Thank you, Dwayne. As Dwayne mentioned, my name is Amy Peck, and I manage Public and Stakeholder Engagement, a program of the Canadian Cattlemen's Association. We work to build public trust in the way beef is raised in Canada, and a core component of creating that trust is communicating the conservation initiatives in the beef industry. The nominees you will meet today are community leaders in conservation on the lands under their care, optimizing the way they manage their cattle to ensure maximum benefits for carbon sequestration, soil and water quality, and spaces for wildlife to flourish. The stories of these 4 families here today are exactly what we need to ensure the majority of Canadians see the ecological benefits of raising beef right here. With that, I'd like to introduce our first nominee. Paul De Jong of the Charlton Angus Cattle Company is this year's recipient of the Beef Farmers of Ontario's Environmental Stewardship Award. Located in Temiskaming District of Northern Ontario, Paul runs a 150 head cow-calf Angus farm on 6 quarter sections of land, comprised of approximately half trees and half pasture, with 3 streams crossing the property. To ensure the integrity of riparian areas, Paul fences off sensitive wetland and rivers and provides off-stream watering for his cattle. He conducts soil tests to determine fertilizer is applied for only what's needed and where it's needed. Tillage is completed in a manner to minimize soil disturbance, limiting erosion and improving soil biology. Paul's rotational grazing strategy aims to ensure enough forage cover is left when the cattle move on to prevent the ground from losing moisture, which enables plant roots access to water during the hot, dry summers. He focuses on optimizing soil biology so that the microbes are able to thrive, which in turn translates into healthier grass, better feed, and improved animal health and productivity. As Paul continues to focus on environmental stewardship and regenerative agriculture practices on the farm, he notes that the time and effort to maintain the health of his farm's environment gets easier. Environmental goals for the future on this farm include more fencing along watercourses, turning some of the scrubland into productive pasture, improving pasture health by incorporating more grass species, and working towards improved soil health. Paul continually shares and educates others about the importance and function of the environment by hosting farm tours and meetings. Congratulations, Paul. Our 2020 recipient of the Manitoba Beef Producers Environmental Stewardship Award are Thomas and Felicity Hagan and their Hagan Valley Ranch near Virden, Manitoba. The couple targets the right balance between production, profitability, and a healthy environment by focusing on soil health and thoughtful grazing practices. The family, which includes sons Rory and Ryan, raise upwards of 320 cows and 300 yearlings and custom graze about 100 head on the 3,200 acres of native grassland encompassing the ranch. They graze year-round and have cross-fenced to create paddocks based on soil type and a very diverse array of grass species, including marsh grasses and bush areas. This enables strategic rotations of the cattle on a daily or even twice daily basis during the peak growing periods. This matches grazing intensity and duration to the specific paddock while ensuring plenty of time for the grasses to regrow. They have perimeter fenced the dugout and developed a summer watering system, thus protecting the fragile riparian areas and enhancing grazing access and distribution across the multiple paddocks. The Hagans also soil test regularly and monitor trends in soil organic carbon and have seen noticeable increases in soil carbon in some areas. Their efforts are also paying off on the biodiversity front, where they've completed regular environmental farm plans and have been working with Manitoba Habitat Heritage Corporation, who have surveyed for at-risk birds on the ranch and have noticed an increase in different species over the years. The Hagans have also placed a caveat on the ranch, stipulating it can never be developed for other purposes, meaning it will always stay in native grass. Congratulations, Thomas and Felicity. In Alberta, Deer Creek Ranch, located near Milk River, is the recipient of the Alberta Beef Producers 2020 Environmental Stewardship Award. Deer Creek Ranch was established prior to the year 1900 and has continued to grow ever since. In 1939, the Gilchrist brothers purchased the ranch and the Gilchrist family homesteaded at Deer Creek Ranch until the spring of 2011. At that time, the current owners, Deer Creek Livestock Company Limited, which is comprised of Richard Visser, James Bekkering, Kyle Turner, and Jeff Smith, purchased the ranch. For the last 9 years, these owners have continued the stewardship work started by the Gilchrists. They've worked with several conservation groups, focusing on sensitive riparian and badland habitats on the ranch and carefully managing the vegetation, wetlands, soil and water systems, and wildlife, which includes species at risk. The ranch lies within the dry mixed grass natural shrub region in southeastern Alberta near Riding on Stone Provincial Park. The grazing management of the expansive open native grasslands is traditional, but also adaptive to changing conditions. Today, the ranch is capable of carrying 1,200 cows along with 400 yearlings. They grow their own cattle feed, including hay, alfalfa, and sorghum, through no-till practices. The ranch conducts yearly monitoring of specific enhancements implemented so that they can adapt easily if the enhancements are not having their desired effect. This has enabled the owners to improve their grass and water quality, resulting in both healthier grasslands with an increased carrying capacity and healthier cattle with improved beef production. Deer Creek Ranch is working to minimize the environmental footprint of their business with an aim to improve the overall ranch environment for subsequent generations. Congratulations, Deer Creek Ranch. Our final nominee is the Seelhof family, consisting of Ricky and Chad and their daughters Riata and Renee, who are the recipients of the 2020 British Columbia Cattlemen's Association Ranch Sustainability Award. They operate Woodjam Ranch near Horsefly, BC, a 500 head Black Angus cow-calf business on over 2,000 acres of cultivated and native rangeland in association with 80,000 acres of Crown grazing license area. The couple purchased the ranch in 2013 from Chad's parents, who have owned the property since 2003. The ranch lies adjacent to the Horsefly River and has 16 tributary creeks running through it. Thus, ensuring these waterways maintain their health is paramount. The Seelhofs focus on planting a lot of willow and work on riverbank restoration to prevent the significant spring flooding the ranch is subject to. In partnership with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, they have installed 8 large off-river watering systems and added in-ground piping. The Seelhofs continue on developing pasture in higher areas so they can keep cattle off the flood-prone riparian areas. They have fenced along most of the river and stream banks, but also use portable electric fence to prevent wildlife from becoming entangled and to make judicious use of some of the wider stream bank areas at certain times of the year. The well-distributed livestock watering, strategic feeding practices, and rotational early season use of pastures results in vigorous pasture growth, annual forage litter accumulations, and improved wildlife habitat. They focus on giving the grasses time to rest and enhancing nutrient distribution and soil moisture. To this ranch family, they feel it is their responsibility to steward the land. Congratulations to the Seelhof family. It has been my pleasure to introduce you to the nominees. I'll now hand it back to you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Amy. As you can see, we have a very deserving list of nominees for this year's award. Each year, we have a committee of outstanding judges with vast experience in conservation, agriculture, and beef production. Our committee this year included representation from Ducks Unlimited Canada. Thank you to Carly Reimer. Cows and Fish. Thank you to Noreen Ambrose. Myself as this Environment Committee. It's a very difficult task to pick one recipient out of such an incredible group, but we do our best. Please join us on August 12th at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time for our online TESA 2020 virtual award ceremony. Michelle will be sure to share the details of this event with you. And finally, again, we thank Myers Norris Penny as the TESA Platinum sponsor. At this time, I'll pass it over to Michelle for a question and answer session. I hope you'll join us in August for the online ceremony. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Dwayne and Amy. We will now be taking questions. Please type your question into the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Please include your full name and publication.
Hi, Michelle. I've had a question come in via email, and it is for all the participants. It is, how do you balance profitability with conservation practices? If you could throw that to one of our nominees to start.
Yeah. I think it was on the sheet that I got.
Sorry, you can go ahead, Michelle.
Thanks, Amy. Maybe we will start with Paul in Ontario.
The environment is a complex biological system, and I come up with 4 management areas that comprise of air, water, food, and shelter. By maximizing a balance between all those, we achieve the best quality forage for our cows, but also the best sustainability of our environment. And by doing that, we'll ensure a better bottom line in the long run. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. We will now move to Thomas and Felicity.
Yeah, so ours is, I think it's pretty basic. What we do is we measure animal units per acre, and we're watching that grow. So that shows us that we're growing grass, more grass year in, year out, and then we balance that with breed up on our cows and the rate of gain on our yearlings. Or not the rate of gain, but what our yearlings weigh when we market them in September, October. They're always born in June, so we know it's a good benchmark if the weight's going up or down. I think if we're getting too many animal units and our grass is too low quality, our weight's going to go down and our breed up on our cows is going to go down. But what we've seen is our AU per acre is going up, and our breed up is staying pretty good, and the weight on our yearlings is doing pretty good. So that's how we manage profitability and the environmental side together, because as we grow more grass, that's showing us that our soil's healthier and healthier. And now we graze each paddock once a year. We used to do 2 or 3 times, but we're doing ultra high density grazing, so we're moving 3 times a day and upwards of 6 times a day. So we're getting a really good idea of what each acre is producing, and yeah, we do an average at the end of the year. So that's how we manage the environmental side and the economic side at the same time.
Thanks, Thomas. We will now move to Jeff in Alberta.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Amy, would you be able to reread the question from the email?
Absolutely. Jeff, it's how do you balance profitability with conservation practices?
So far, we haven't seen any discount or losses with improving our environmental aspects of the ranch. We partner with some of the programs out there that help us to manage the different projects with the environmental footprint that we might encounter. And actually, we've seen where we've had improvements within water sources and electric fencing that have been profitable, which we never seen prior to trying the environmental aspect before.
Thanks, Jeff. We will now move to Ricky and Chad in BC.
Hi, yeah, so can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, we can,
Good.
Chad.
Our conservation projects were put in place partially for productivity and profitability. When we came here, cattle kind of grazed the valley floor throughout the summer, and with our fencing projects and off-stream waters, the cattle are up high in the mountains now all summer, and they don't come down in the valley. So this grass is saved for late fall and winter grazing. So our feed costs have been cut way down. Just being able to manage our cattle more, and that also keeps the cattle out of the creeks and off the riverbanks all summer when they really want to hang out there. So it was kind of a win-win, or a no-brainer. Thanks.
Thanks, Chad. Our next question is from Barb Glenn at the Western Producer, and this question is for Jeff in Alberta. What species at risk have been found at Deer Creek Ranch?
There's over 100 different species, wildlife species on the ranch. I don't know all of them, but there's lots of rattlesnakes. There's many different horned larks. To name what exact ones or species at risk, I'd have to look that up and get back to them. But rattlesnakes, there's lots of rattlesnakes down there, hawks, but the environment guys that we work with, they would know the ones that are more endangered or species than I would.
Thanks, Jeff. Barb, if you'd like further information, we can always follow up with Jeff after today's presentation. Our next question is from Lee Hart at Grain News. And this is for, the first question we'll put to all the nominees. Does paying particular attention to environmental issues on your farm ranch, does it cost you money, make you money, or save you money? What is the payback to you? So we will maybe start off with Thomas and Felicity in Manitoba.
So yeah, there's a few questions in there. So to break that down, does paying attention to environmental issues, does it cost you money? So yeah, absolutely. We had a lot of the startup cost. We ended up breaking the ranch up into about 55 permanent paddocks, I believe. So that costs money and fencing material. I think we water mainly from groundwater and water systems. So we have about 15 dugouts. They're expensive to build. So yeah, there has been a lot of money invested. Does it save you money? Absolutely, because as I mentioned before, our animal units per acre is going up. So basically the amount of 1,000-pound animals 1 acre can carry for 1 day, we're noticing that go up every year. We're feeding less, so we focus on a ratio grazed feed to fed feed. This year we started grazing in March, and we'll probably graze till Christmas. I think traditionally around here, most people graze for about 5 months and feed for 7 months. So that has saved us a lot of money because, traditionally grazed feed is a heck of a lot less or a heck of a lot cheaper than fed feed. So that would kind of answer what's the payback to us is. The payback is in grazing days per acre if we use it properly. Yeah. So do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so.
Do we answer the next question about the environmental goods and services tax?
If you'd like to, sure, that'd be great.
Sure, certainly, I have an opinion on that. I know some people are working on if you're going to have a carbon tax, really you should be giving money back to people that are actually sequestering carbon. So I think they're trying to figure out how to do that. There's a group in Saskatchewan and Manitoba working on that. I think they have several ideas. Some of them are pretty good. I think measuring the soil organic matter in your soil and benchmarking that, and maybe looking at what the land around you is doing. And if you can prove that you're actually putting carbon in the ground and keeping it there, to me, that's the best way to do it. Because otherwise, if it's just broad strokes and everybody who rotationally grazes, and I mean that's such a broad term, whether you're rotating every once a month or 10 times a day, I think what you should do is pay people for actual carbon. If we think that's the problem, then pay them for it if they can prove that they're putting it in the soil. And I think that's a good way to measure it and pay. So that would be my opinion.
Yeah, especially with all the new soil testing and how easy it is for just a common day rancher to go and get one done. A lot of that can be measured now.
Thanks, Thomas and Felicity, for your comments. Just for everyone's awareness, the second part of the question was, there has been some talk of creating an environmental goods and services tax. If you are going to make the effort, you should be compensated. How do you feel about that? With that, we'll turn the question and answer session over to Jeff. Jeff, would you like to comment on those questions?
Yeah, so we've invested quite a bit of money into environmental projects, but we do view it as a long-term investment. It is out-of-pocket money up front, but we have seen some savings and it making some money on a few projects. But again, they're projects that are 10, 15, 20-year projects possibly that we haven't quite had enough data and information feedback yet to determine our return on investment on them projects. But so far, it hasn't caused us any losses to say on the improvements. Yes, there's been cost to do them, but we haven't seen a net loss as of today. In regards to creating the environmental goods and service tax, I haven't done too much research on that. Would it be helpful to be compensated for some of these things? Yes. We're not doing these projects or investing this money for compensation on carbon tax. We do it for the improvement of the ranch and to better our operation. But we would be open to suggestions and possibly a quicker return on some of them investments.
Thanks, Jeff. We will now move to Ricky and Chad in BC for their comments.
Yeah, so we're super fortunate out here because everything we do is around waterways and fish. So when we started our plan to improve the ranch, we had a lot of help from Department of Fisheries and Oceans, our environmental farm plan, and the Forest Practices Board. So it was a lot of work and a lot of time. We put in 30 kilometers of fence, 8 or 9 off-stream waters, lots of pipe, but they contributed a lot to that as far as the cost. The savings have been huge. I mean, no more chopping water holes in the winter. Management of cattle's, I mean, it's very, very easy now with all the cross fencing. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of time, and time is money. So yeah, it was a stressful, and it took a long time. And but we were super fortunate to have the backing for our projects. And as far as the goods and services tax for carbon sequestering or what have you, I think it's an awesome idea. I mean, we've seen the benefit of just our projects we did. I mean, our stocking rates have gone way up, but it would be good for other producers to see a little more incentive to improve their operations. I mean, you know, we try and tell people that, yeah, it's been beneficial, but having a little government kickback would really be the icing on the cake, I think. Thank you.
Another thing we've noticed too, obviously, is health of the cattle when they're not drinking out of low-lying waters, and their daily gains has been beneficial as well.
Thanks, Ricky and Chad. We'll now move to Paul in Ontario for his comments.
The upfront costs for environmental improvements are quite substantial depending on how rapidly you want to implement them. But I view them as a long-term investment, and I believe strongly in a benefit that can be gained by fencing off waterways and installing watering systems. There's better animal health by drinking clean water. So there's reduced vet costs. There's increased weight gains during the season. So there are less days to market, or there are heavier weights when they do go to market. Each year you are in that system, your forage crop produces more grasses, so you can maintain more animals on the same acreage. So that increases to your bottom line. We do it because I believe strongly in that, and it's the best thing for our farm, but it's also the image that we like to present to the rest of the community, for the people that buy our beef, that we're responsible on our farm and for the environment that we look after. Sequestering carbon is in my best interest for nutrient cycling and water holding capacity in our soil. And it's also benefits the rest of the population by taking that out of the atmosphere. So if we can receive some compensation for that, then I'm all for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, for your comments. That's all the time that we have for questions. Please feel free to submit any follow-up questions to me at mcmullinm@cattle.ca. All nominees are available for further interviews upon request. At this time, I'd like to pass it over to Dwayne for his final remarks.
I would like to just thank everybody, especially the nominees. Nobody gets rich by doing this, and in this business, we tend not to be very good at putting ourselves out there and telling people what we're doing. But I can assure you that what you've done and what you do for our industry and letting the outside world see what you're doing and the impeccable job that you're doing is so very valuable, and the rest of the industry benefits so much for it by you guys putting yourselves out there. So thanks so much for doing that. And I wish you all the best. I know you all had such great presentations, and I really look forward to meeting all of you in the future.
Thanks, Dwayne. This presentation has also been recorded and is available upon request. I'd like to thank everyone for your time and interest in today's presentation, and congrats to our nominees. We look forward to seeing you on August 12th for the TESA Awards ceremony. As Dwayne mentioned, details on this event will be made available soon. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.